Well, this viewer has a question about light. Said, could you please do a video to show how to paint a night scene with a road under headlights or street light? In oils, specific there. I'm struggling with showing light on the road. Now, this is really about problem solving. When I get a question like this where someone wants to see how to do something specific, I think it's always better if I show you how to find out what to do rather than just painting it for you. Because this is about problem solving. So let's go about it like this. Whenever you have any scene that you want to paint, you don't quite know how to go about it. First of all, let's break it down. Forget what it is. If you're trying to paint headlights on a road at nighttime, if that's what you're trying to paint, if that's all you're thinking about it, you're probably not going to be able, or you're going to struggle an awful lot before you get there, if you get there at all. But if you go about it like what I'm about to show you here, I think that you'll be much, much happier because that means you can solve a problem. You know how to solve any painting problem you encounter. So first of all, ask yourself the question, what colors do I see? What colors do I see? And what values of those colors do I see? Now, this is what the person wants to know about right here. So we're not going to fool with car. This part right here. It's not obviously a night scene, and it's obviously headlights on a road. And it does look like maybe the road might be a little bit wet, but either way, this will work. So ask yourself, what colors do I see? All right, so if we have the color wheel, we can easily identify the colors we see. And if you go to dynamize.com and click on free stuff in the menu, you'll find, when you cursor down, you'll find my color wheel. And you can print it. It's a PDF. You can print it on a good quality paper, cut out the center like this, and then you can hold it up, or you can really hold it up and look through to compare the colors that you see in plein air or anything that you're painting. So, what colors am I seeing? Let's start right here. What colors are we seeing there? Now let's just use the color wheel to guide us here. So if we're seeing, if we're looking at this single color right here, what is that color? You see, it really is a yellow-orange. You see that? Just compare this with that. And you see that color is a yellow-orange. All right, what is this color and this color? These colors are pretty much the same. We can see that. But what are they? Well, if we rotate the wheel and keep looking at that color, we see actually that color is red-violet. You see that? A little bit desaturated, but it's a red-violet. Do we see any other colors in there? Well, actually we don't, do we? We see red-violet, and we found that when we compared it to the color wheel, it's a little bit desaturated. Well, now, we see this is slightly desaturated. So to find out how to get that, we'll put our color wheel back up here. We said red-violet is opposite yellow-green on the color wheel. That means that yellow-green will desaturate red-violet. That's one of the miracles of our color wheel, our traditional color wheel. It never lies to us. It'll always guide us what to do when we will use it the way it was meant to be used, and that is to identify color. So if that is correct, and we'll see that the values here are darker in some areas and lighter in the others, might indicate a little white there. Well, then let's test that out. So take it one step at a time, and you'll really figure this thing through. Now, this is just about color. First of all, find the color, then we'll find the technique. All right, so for the yellow orange, I've got cadmium yellow deep here is a wonderful yellow orange. You might be able to get away with a, let's see, that is maybe a little bit desaturated to you, so you might be able to get away with a yellow ochre light there, but let's just go to the real thing there. And then we've identified red violet. So I have a red violet already on my palette. And this red violet is the quinacridone violet. So we'll just put the red violet on the palette like this. Now, and then we said we needed that red violet slightly desaturated. All right, so I have a yellow green. This is the Rembrandt sap green here. Sap green is a yellow green. So I'll just put a little bit of that down. Now, I said to need this slightly desaturated. So if you take it one step at a time, let's test it. Test it first, and then you'll know what to do. But if you just randomly start throwing color on, it's a guessing game, and it can become very frustrating. So that seems to be desaturated enough. Let's test it out with a brush and see. So I'll just put that color on the up here on the canvas. We'll play a little bit here now, show you about testing color out. So we will see. That looks pretty close, doesn't it? That desaturated red violet looks pretty close to what we have right there. Let's see what would happen. What will happen to the red violet if we add a little white to it, considering other stuff that we see happening there. It's pretty dark as it is. So if we wanted to get it darker, we could add a little bit more yellow-green to it, and that would get it darker. Let's just see now. If we add a little bit, well, did not mean for that to happen. I don't want it to contaminate colors before we start using them. So if we put just a little bit, just a touch, let's get right over here. And I'm going to get the palette now so I don't want to contaminate that color yet. Let's see what happens there. Now, so what will happen when I put white in there? Aha, that probably is going to work. You see what white does there? It gives that slightly lighter value, very slightly lighter value. Now let's try something else. So we know now that we've got the red violet. We've desaturated this pile of red violet that we're going to use. Desaturated just a little bit. That's all it needed. And we have tested what happens if we add the white to it, and it does make it lighter without having to make other changes when we add the white to it. So let's see now, what about that yellow? So for that I'm going to rinse the brush out really, really good and pull all of that solvent out of it. Now let's see about that yellow orange. Is it going to need something done to it before I really work with it? So here's the way I'll test that. I'll just put a little bit of that yellow orange in the tip of my brush. Let's just test it. Let's see if I just blend that yellow orange into that red violet, what happens? Well, that might just work. That might just work. Do I need to add any white to that yellow orange? Looks like I might need to add a little white to it there. Let's see what would happen if we did. And then, you see, I'm just going by what I see here to ask these questions. You can do the same thing. It's all about asking the right questions. You ask the right questions, you can find the answer. If you ask the wrong questions, you'll probably go down the wrong path. That might be necessary. Add a little bit of white into that. So, okay, I believe we've found the colors that we can use there to show the headlights reflecting on the road there in that particular situation. So the next question to ask, what technique do I use? How do I go about doing that? What technique do I use? Once again, look at the subject. What is it doing? And you can describe this to yourself, and it'll tell you what technique you need to use. What is this yellow doing with this red violet? What is happening between those two colors? They are blending into each other. You might say the yellow orange is blending into the red violet, or you might say it the other way around because it works the same way. red violet blending into the yellow orange. And the same thing is happening here. Red violet is blending into yellow orange. See it right here, here. You see it happen here. And you see it's blending down and getting more and more blended and less of the yellow orange showing as you get down here. You just answered your question. So, do you know how to blend with a brush? Know how to blend oil paint with a brush? Well, if you don't, I'll show you right now. Uh, they're the best way I know to blend when you have two colors like that that really are very, very different from each other. The best way to blend is to put them down first and then blend them. So let's kill. I'm not going to kill birds with stones, but let's do all this at once now. So first of all, I'll start here, and when you're going to begin with a brush technique, you need to ask yourself, which way is it going? Which way is this going? Now you can see that it's really, this is vertical. You see there? That's vertical. It's not going in the same direction as the highway because of where the viewer was standing, where the photographer was standing or sitting or whatever, located. Where the photographer was located, when this picture was taken, it causes these reflections to appear vertical. And so don't even try to analyze. If you are working with something a picture that you took yourself, you'll know exactly where you were. But don't even worry about that. Just describe to yourself where is it, how is it moving, in what direction is this moving, because that's the direction you want to blend it in. So what direction is this moving? It's moving in a vertical direction. All right, so let's do this. Let's start about right here. So we'll start with the red violet that has already been desaturated. We won't put the white in there yet, and let's just go down here, and I'll just go just a little ways. All right, so you can see that is moving down, and what I'm going to do here, I'm going to do this. I'm going to move it down in a back and forth stroke because I see that moving back and forth. So as it's moving down, it's doing two things at once. It's moving this direction, it's got these irregular edges that move back and forth like that. So we'll just do that and let's get enough paint on the brush to make that happen. So we're going like this. We're going this way, like that. All right. Now let's see. It gets wide and narrow. It gets more narrow as it goes down. So it's really wider right up here. So you ask yourself those questions. Describe to yourself the shapes that you're seeing. Describe to yourself the direction of where those shapes are moving. And just do that. And then we've got a similar thing happening on the other side. So we'll go on the other side and we'll do the same thing. It's always, in oil paint, it's always better if you start with the dark first. And because you get cleaner color when you work from dark to light rather than light to dark. So that's just a good little practice. I'm not making a rule because I don't like rules. It's just a good little practice. All right, so let's go there. So I'm going to look at this. I'm going to look at the width of that yellow as I come down. And I'm going to get that just a little bit wider, that space between them. And then let that blend out. And we can do the same thing on the other side. Now, because I'm going to desaturate this just a little bit more there. You see I've got my yellow green right here, and I can do that. But control it, just add just a touch as you desaturate. Add just a touch of the yellow green to it, because I see it a little bit more desaturated as it's coming down right in there. Look at that, just a little bit more desaturated, and this too. Okay, now I'll just make this very short because if I get these quick tips too long, I'll lose you. So put your dark in first. Have them moving in the direction you see them moving. Let your brush move in the direction that you see them moving. And then I'll go to the next color. That requires thoroughly rinsing the brush. And you can't see me doing them off camera here. But I've got a little pot of solvent here and thoroughly mix the brush. Rinse the brush and then always thoroughly dry the brush. These are just good techniques, good practice, good practices to work with. Now I'm going to go with that yellow orange. And so I'll just go, first of all, just with a pure yellow orange. Now I see that yellow orange starts narrow. Both of them. I'm just doing one here because of the time. So I'm going to start with my brush turn this way. Now, if you hold your brush at a 45-degree angle, kind of a 45-degree angle, not this way, if you hold it that way against straight into the canvas, you're just going to pull the paint like a road scrape. But if you want the paint to really go on the canvas smoothly, just hold the brush at about a 45-degree angle, and you'll get that smooth coverage. Okay, we'll just stop at that. Now, also, you can turn the brush in your hand. You don't have to be working with a tiny brush. You don't really. You could do a whole painting like that with one brush if you know how to use the brush. So I'm loading it with this color. Now I'm going to turn it first of all this way, and I'm going to do the same movement of that light is moving the same way. So I'm going to move it like this as I'm coming down and smooth it back and forth. And you see I've got the brush turned so I can get that narrow blend or that narrow area. And I'll pull it down like that. Now, I'm going to rinse the brush again. Now here's where the blending comes in. Rinse the brush, get it thoroughly dried, and then I'm going to move into this. I'm going to set the brush, the clean brush. I'm just going to sit it at a 45-degree angle, and I will use only a portion of the brush, just this portion right here, at first, and then I'll just move it back and forth. Now this is the way we blend. You can blend one color into another by moving it back and forth like this, and then give it a stroke that's moving in the direction of the thing you see. So you see there's a smooth blend. Now we're going to go to the other side and do the same thing. Sit between those two colors, pull one into the other just like this, just like that. You can sometimes even do it 2 or 3 times if you need to. And sometimes you can pull it several times, and the more you pull it there, the more of a blend you get. Now what else that we need to do there? Then we can begin to work a little white into those colors. But you can see that this is the major thing the person is asking right here. Color and the technique and the brush technique. Now, I don't need much white. I don't need very much at all. Just a little bit of white in that brush. And I'm going to blend it in right in here. Just blend it in. It's the same way. And then I'll just pull the brush very gently, just holding it, barely touching the canvas. And come back and add a little bit more and blend it in. A little bit more and blend it in. Now, I'm going to pull all that, just pull it all out of the brush and come back and let that blend in. Once again, back and forth, very lightly, and then pull it down like this. And the more you pull it down, just pull it down and keep that brush at that angle as you're pulling it down. You see, then you get more and more of a blend. And then to change the value of the red violet, I'll do the same thing. So if the just a little bit of white on that brush, you don't need much. Hold it a little bit closer at an angle, very barely touch it. And you see, just let it blend in very gently, like that, and work it very slowly. And you see that begins to add that white that we see in there. Where we see it darker, we can move into the yellow green and then move from the yellow green into the red violet. On the palette, watch what's happening there. You don't want it to look green. You want it to look darker and a little more desaturated. And then you can see you can do this sort of thing like right in here and get it just a little bit darker and get quite enough color on the brush there. So this is the process. There we go, right there. See how that gets it darker? And we see a little bit of yellow green there. We don't want that, so we'll just add some more red violet into it. And that you can see that works as desaturating and getting it dark. So this is the process that you use. You would just look at the color, decide what colors you're going to need, do a little practice work on somewhere other than your painting to discover what you're going to need, if that really works, if those colors really work. Then decide what technique you're going to need to use and practice the technique. Once you've got that all feeling, really you feel real confident about how you do all that, then come and do that on your canvas. I think you will be very happy if you take that approach. It may take a little longer, but sure takes the frustration out of it. Be sure to view all of our quick tips. And while you're doing so, subscribe to the channel, click on the bell so you'll always get a notice when we produce a new quick tip, which is every week. And if you have a question, leave it in the comments section and we'll make a quick tip for you. Also, take a trip over to dinemize.com where I have full-length lessons, downloads, DVDs, lots of other stuff there, some free stuff for you. And while you're there, you can subscribe to the newsletter, and that way you'll always be informed every time we do something new.